everybody, this is Jamie Pate. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, we're going to jump into some of my pages for my December album. So let's start with story number 1. All right, I have gathered some Evergreen Season from 49 Market, and I'm starting with a piece of mixed media paper because I'm going to build a foundation. Love this paper for building upon, whether it is with other paper in an album like this. This is a 6x8 album. It's the black velvet from ScrapbookCom that I'm using and have used for my stories in the past. Lots of times, though, I like to create pages that are outside the pocket. So that's what we're doing here. And I love having a stronger cardstock to hold the goods on. So I'm just aligning this to the complete size of a page protector so that I have plenty of room for the holes there on the side and have plenty of room for building. So what I'm doing today is the family page. That's what I call it. And you can see here, I have several papers and I was going to go in several different directions. And actually, this was an exercise in just turning the camera on when I wasn't really quite sure what I was going to do. But what I decided upon, I remembered a pocket page that I did, a paper pocket page I did years ago. It's still one of my favorite scrapbook pages. And so I thought, to back up what I'm going to do for the family photo, I wanted to create some pockets. And so it's like crafting a pattern paper background, but it's got a little bit of something with it. I love that plaid. That's why I was showing the camera, because I didn't use a plaid right here, but I will use it. Trust me, I shall be using the plaid. So here she's deciding which direction does that go in. But then I also wanted to craft some more pockets and wanted to get those prepped and ready to go as well. I do not have measurements for you because I winged it. This is me just winging it. And I wanted 3 pockets. I just kind of measured. I made sure there's some overlay on them. I talk about them later on in the video as well. And this is my top part. I went back and forth on what I wanted, but just as far as a design standpoint, I have this really great word pattern at the top. The middle is going to be solid, and then the bottom will be a little bit of plaid, the red, just kind of offsetting everything. I'll allude to this again, but just make sure if you're building this page yourself that you start with that top pocket first, because everything is overlaying on top of it and you need to have that down. Then the second middle pocket and then the bottom pocket. I reached for the 2-inch circle punch to give it just a little bit of something to help share too that it is a pocket. So that's what I was thinking through at that point. And so I'm just going to trim this to the paper. I didn't even trim it on the paper trimmer. This is just how winging it she's doing it here. Of course, with I use 1/4 inch here, double-sided adhesive with a real simple, I call it like the simplest pocket you can make, is when you're just adding the adhesive right to the back of the paper and slapping it on the page. That's what that was about. So easy, maybe I should call it 3 easy pocket page. I don't know. What's a good title for this? I guess we'll find out once we get to the end of this. So putting that in place, and next will be the bottom pocket. And there it is. Same thing. Gonna punch it. And so see, with the patterns that are going in there, the greens are there, but it kind of gives it a pop with that red, right? And with the different texture that's happening too. So that's a fun thing to kind of play with if you're doing a concept like this. And it doesn't even have to be pockets. It could just be 3 pieces of pattern paper. Okay, so now we're skipping to the family photo. I will not bore you with the details of the difficulty of getting this family photo this year. Suffice it to say, I'm just embracing it. So I wanted to build an ethereal page. I can't think of another word right now. So vellum was my go-to. I'm building the photo and the frame on the vellum. I have to make sure, because the 6x8 albums have 2 rings instead of 3. So you have to make sure, if you're not doing a full page, that you at least have enough paper to cover the holes. And I will come back probably at the end. I'm not even sure if I show it. And I will add whole reinforcers on the vellum, because that vellum will tear pretty quick. And the page is a little heavy because of that chipboard frame. Do you remember if you watched the unboxing, how I was going gaga over these frames? Well, I almost forgot about them. I have everything displayed in my stack and sort trays. So as I was unstacking them and laying them out on my table, I was like, oh, frames. So we're starting this book off with a frame. It's a chipboard frame, so it's got some real good structure to it. I thought it was a great way to kind of give focus in an artistic approach to what is important here. And it's going to be the together that is important here. And I will point out, these photos weren't even taken in December. And as I know that I already have several pages in mind, and my roller tape did not work, so I had to grab this one. So that's just had a little adhesive fail there. So now we're getting it in place. So I'll get back to that point in a minute. Let me get to this. So my vellum is sized. The photo is going on straight. So I'm lining it up. I'm just trying to decide. I probably actually should have pulled it over just a tiny bit more because of making provision for the frame and not to interfere with the holes. I knew I wanted to pop it up. So I just recently have organized all my adhesives into this IKEA box. I have a million of these IKEA boxes all over my house. And the adhesives from ScrapbookCom just happen to fit in there perfectly. I love having that because I do have all the different sizes, which I utilize the different sizes. So I like my little filing system. So I needed the 1/8" strips so I could pop the chipboard up. So not only do you have the thickness of the chipboard, but I'm just giving it even more thickness here with these foam strips. Then what I wanted to do, I didn't want the photo to go straight on. And I jumped into fiddling with the back because I realized, oh, you can see, I told you I was winging this. You can see the foam coming through the vellum. So I went back and forth on that. We'll get to that in a moment. But when I do adhere the frame over the photo, it will not be straight, and that's on purpose. I wanted it to kind of come in a little bit at an angle. I don't know. It felt right to not be completely straight. All right, now what is she doing? I have forgotten what I'm doing here. Oh, yes. It would be mindful to go ahead and hole punch the vellum before putting the chipboard in place, because the chipboard is just going to be in the way, and it will be frustrating to try to come back and add in the holes for the album. And then she gets it stuck on the back of her film. It's just, I'm telling you, people, it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It is not perfect here. I hope that never comes off. We're just having fun. And I got to tell you too, and we're getting ready to get into the back part of this. This was just an exercise in enjoying the making and creating pages. So now to cover the foam that can be seen through a little bit from the back, I just brought this another great pattern paper, and I was just making sure that it covered the strips and that you couldn't see it when you turned the page. So that's what we're working on here, and just cutting that and trimming that down. And then I was going to add, I think I just added some adhesive strips, maybe the 3/4 size. We'll see here in a moment. But I'm just making sure, because I still kind of wanted a little bit of that see-through feel, forgetting that I had to cover the strips. But I don't hate it when it's all done. Actually, I got pretty giddy about this page. I think that comes to fruition here towards the end of the video. And I do hope you will stay tight for all of this. There's several more things that are going to be taking place. So I'm just speeding this up here because I am adding just these strips of adhesive to the back, just right to the middle, which I'm glad I did that because there are several things that will need to be added to the front of this page. So this was good to not have this completely flattened with adhesive to the back of this frame. All right, we're going to wrap this video up by adding some embellishments, and I've gathered a bunch of things here. I kind of have an idea of where I'm going to go with this. Here's kind of how this little story went here on the front. I was just going to do this. This is how the evolution of this can be sometimes. And then I was thinking, okay, so it needs a tab so the viewer knows to open it. So I'm like trying to fit that in there. But remember, I have all that strip underneath. So, okay, well then maybe let's score that in half. Let me see how if there's anything significant on here I need to. I think I'll go like that. There's some text up here. I kind of want that to show. So I am going to go ahead and do this, and that way both sides show like this kind of tab. I love just taking, this is a 2-inch circle, and these are great for just really quick DIY tabs, right? So that's going to be cool. I'm going to do that right there like that. Then I came across this sweet little Merry Christmas, super vintagey, right? There's a whole vintage vibe always going on with the 49er market anyway. But then I'm like, don't I have words that go with this ephemera? And I came across this together, and it's really pretty. I love how thin it is. And I'm like, the story for me for this right here is about together. There's just some nuances that were taking place here. And together was a huge theme. And then, of course, she has to bring in the foliage, right? So I really do. I loved this with the tab kind of behind it. Okay. And then I thought the together would also work on that as well. I like it. I like it. All right, those pieces are in place. This is a little tricky here, but I think what I'm going to do is grab some of the 1/8 inch strips. I feel like that's on repeat for me. I'm going to grab the 1/8 inch strips. I say that again and again. I just use these. They are workhorses here, I'm telling you. And so I'm going to kind of fuddle around a minute and just make sure that where I'm putting them, it will line up here with how I want it to. I'm going to just put one more piece there. I think that'll be support enough. And I'll kind of keep an eye on it as I am in and out of this album, which I will be. You know how that goes when you're working on a almost daily album. I don't promise that this is daily. Although, as I am working on this, there are several stories in my head. I am super eager to get onto and into this album. So I'm thankful for that. If you've been through a weird time in life, when the stories come, oh my gosh, I could cry. I love this so much. I think it's so pretty. When the stories come to you, you're full of gratitude for those stories and for the life that those stories represent. Okay, so if you flip over that front frame, then you saw how I already covered up my strips. And so I'm just creating a quick little cluster here. I mentioned this later on in the video, but I'm going to say it again here. The frame is that brand new nested, stitched stamp frame from ScrapbookCom. The poinsettias are part of evergreen season. Let's see. The laser cuts. And the tickets, part of the ephemera, all the branches are part of the laser cuts. The thing I really wanted to highlight here was the strip, It's a Wonderful Life, which I believe I cut out from the back of the packaging of the laser cuts. So utilize those, my friends, if you grabbed anything and there is cutaways on the back of the front of the package. They're priceless. They're great little embellishments. So I end up coming in and having to kind of reinforce the It's a Wonderful Life just a little bit more. I didn't want it to droop down into the frame, so you'll see that later on as well. All right, the final thing we'll do is add some things to the pockets here. Sky's the limit to what we could add to this. I could really have a fun fest adding the details to these pockets. Pockets are our friends. I know how much you all love them as well. So I'm just coming in here with my little spatula tool and just dressing the edges. I probably should have done this before I laid them down. And so you can see, did I explain this earlier? Because I'm kind of doing this in a different order, but it was important that this first piece got laid down first. Remember, I did make this a pocket, so if I want to pop something in there, I think I will go ahead and distress it. But this first pocket needs to go on first, and then, you know, have these other pockets measured out to make sure everything gets covered, but that you also have this overlay here so you don't see any of the background paper. So if I didn't iterate that before while I'm distressing this right now, I just want to share that idea with you. And distressing is good here. I'm happy with that. And kind of all I'm going to do here, I say all I'm going to do, is just kind of tuck some things in. Now I have this, again, the same theme, It's a Wonderful Life. I liked using this multiple times. And I'm going to actually, I just cut out this 1-inch piece of solid foundation paper. And I'm going to grab some twine here. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to double this up and tuck this over here. I put it on the edge because I have this part of the graphic there that I didn't want to cover up. And the tiny attacher is going to come in here and hold that twine down. And then I'm just going to then tie a bow. I'm just going to tuck this in. Now, I don't have journaling right now to put on the back of this, but this would be, well, if you covered this with another piece of paper, white cardstock or some solid cardstock, this would be a great space for another picture or for some more journaling. So I was going to tuck this in here, and then I have this Santa from the ephemera. He's just cute. That's all he is. Same with this gold glitter tree. It's a die from ScrapbookCom. And if I failed to mention over here that this nested postage die is also ScrapbookCom, and I use their vintage paper to make that brown frame. Again, I was just kind of picking up from what was going on over here. So I tucked all those things, and I have this fun, you know, the B-roll photos that you take when you do family photos. I don't know, we always do that. I was super frustrated with how our photos were coming out, so I'm like, how about this? We just do this on the table. Yeah, that is not what we did, but I do have my journaling here on this piece of paper. I've already printed it on just some white cardstock, and it's going to find its home on the back of this vintagey ephemera. I think these vintage greeting cards, these Christmas cards, are beautiful. I really just love them. I honestly don't always know how to utilize them on the page, but I like it for sure here to be part of what holds my journaling. That made me kind of excited. So that's what's going to go there. I'm going to place this whole reinforcer right up here. I'm going to let it dry for a minute, and I'll punch that and add some twine to it as well. I think I have twine around here still, so I'll do that when that's dry. I also wanted to pop this December right there, and I'm going to do that again with some squares. I think I want, okay, well, I can't find my larger 2mm one, so I'm going to use these little squares here and just add a couple of them. So that's going to go there. Hover over the two pockets, and my glue went a little squirty. You can see I rushed it and I didn't let it dry, so now I have a little bit of glue on the outside. It will, however, dry clear. So that's my, what I call my family page. Page that's always part of my albums. My family page always starts my albums for the most part. It's a great kickoff. My note to self is next year I'll be taking our family photo in September because I'll like it better then, and it'll already be done. And it's a great page to have already done if that's something you do, to already have done in your album. And so that's a look at these pocket pages too. Who knows, you might see these come to life again later on in the story. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, have any comments, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and all the links are linked below. See you in the next video.